Welcome back to Dear Career. I'm Tiana. I'm a career coach and a social worker, and I'm here to help you negotiate your salary. Okay. I'm having a good hair day, so I'm feeling pretty good. Uh, and I am again wearing my leopard print. It's raining outside, so I'm trying to stay warm but also look cute. Um, okay, so I thought this was actually a really good topic to get into because negotiating salary, especially for women, can be so difficult, so tricky. And if we can break that down, I think it'll make it a little bit less scary. But also, um, there's a few things that you can negotiate beyond just your basic salary. I wanted to see if we can break this down. And actually, let me see. This is such a good topic. Let me see. Okay. There's so many ways I can kind of go into this topic, but I have things to negotiate outside your salary. And I have one, two, three, four, five, at least five different areas that you can negotiate outside your regular salary. So we're going to just talk about the financial pieces. It does not just have to be financial, but today we're going to talk about financial because that's usually the top things that people think about when they want to negotiate their salary. And so and it's not just like the salary you were offered, but other financial pieces to negotiating an offer. Let's get into it. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about all the financial pieces that you can negotiate outside your offer. I want to start out actually with something. Part of the reason why I really want to work with women and love working with women is because the growth that I see when I work with women is so rewarding to me. But one of the things that I've experienced working from an HR perspective and a recruitment perspective is that I personally, I have been the one that has made offers to individuals, and that's one of my favorite parts of the job. And it's so exciting and I love it. I know that I have the power to change someone's life when you make an offer, and um, it feels really good and it's really exciting, especially when you know that person really wants the job. But in my experience of over a decade, I have had a handful of women negotiate their offer. And a handful mean like less than five, enough to count on one hand. Women historically, in my experience, have not negotiated their offer or parts of their offer. And that's because, well, that for me, in my experience, it's because I mostly see men negotiate. I'll see to every one woman, maybe like 3 to 5 men who are negotiating. And it's sad. I think it's really hard to watch and it's really sad. I have had experiences where I've had a really strong negotiation process, and that was with a woman. It was great to watch just from the HR perspective. And maybe that person, because I know that person too, and it wasn't because of me that they negotiated, but maybe they could be someone that I can talk to on the pod. We will see. But for now, I wanted to bring up this topic because it's so important for me, as you know, to advance women in the workplace. But I want to see more and more women start to negotiate their offer. I know it's scary and it's a little less than the feminine energy to do so, but it's so important to do so because as we do that, the pay gap will continue to be reduced and reduced. And that's really important. Pay equity will start to be balanced. And so this is really, really important. I will tell you, this is another experience. I did have a candidate who, well, let's get into it. So, the first way that I have for you to negotiate beyond your offer will be to negotiate for a signing bonus or a sign on bonus. This one's a great way for you to really lean in on the money aspect, but it's going to be for a key specific amount of money, and it will be a one-time cash payment, whether that's paid after. There might be different terms that you negotiate, but maybe it's after the first 90 days, after the first payroll. I don't know, whatever you want to get and negotiate, but it is something that is available to you. I have seen, no, this happens a lot with men, but I will see sign-on bonuses be negotiated by men. I don't even know if I've seen a woman negotiate a sign-on bonus. Maybe I have. I think maybe I have. And usually the women are a lot at higher levels when I do see that. But again, there was a time where I did see a more entry level individual, and it was a man who negotiated a sign-on bonus. The role was budgeted at a certain amount, and they were at the top of that budget. And I honestly did not think that the team or the finance department were going to approve this sign-on bonus, which was a good chunk of a sign-on bonus, where I just thought it wasn't going to happen. I was like, we're at the top of the budget, it's not going to happen. But I didn't know. You never know. Even from a recruiter perspective, the recruiter might not know, but it is possible. Sorry, it is possible that the department might approve the sign-on bonus. So it doesn't hurt to try. And again, I didn't even think it was going to be approved, and it was. So you never know. So why not try it? The next thing to negotiate beyond your offer is going to be performance bonuses. Now, these I've seen a lot of times with sales positions, but they don't have to be. Performance bonuses can include things like higher commissions, annual bonuses, quarterly bonuses, an earning potential that you can potentially receive. Now, with this, I do have to caution you. This may not be something, a sign-on bonus is a one-time payment. That's a lump of pay where it's a specific one-time payment, and it does not count as far as your annual salary. It's separate. A commission or an annual bonus, sometimes those can be very similar, and they should be. From an employer perspective, bonuses and commissions should be very similar to others in the role. And so some companies, especially if they're larger, and sometimes when they're smaller too, they look very closely on pay equity, which they should be. And so they may not have very much wiggle room to negotiate rates or amounts, because they want to make sure things are equitable with other team members, especially those who have been with a company longer. And you also want to make sure that there is equity between men and women. There could be a pay equity issue that comes with a commission. Typically, commissions, you want them to be standard across the board for everyone in that role. Now, if you're the only one in that role, then there shouldn't be an issue. But if there's a whole team, just know that you could run into a no. You could run into, I'm sorry, we can't do that because of pay equity issues. There could be things where, especially if you know you're one of the first or one of the only ones in that role, where you can potentially negotiate a high commission if you think that you are absolutely going to be killing it. And this one I think is great, especially if you think the base isn't where you want it to be, or if they're really limited on with the base. So your earning potential, which is the commission, could be really rich if you think you can meet those expectations. Now, with a bonus, a little different than a commission, the bonus, you want to kind of understand what the bonus structure is. Is it an annual bonus? Is it quarterly bonus? Is it specific bonuses that are paid out during a specific season? So you want to really understand what the bonus structure is to learn how can you negotiate it, and what parts of it are you thinking that you want to negotiate. Okay, the next one when it comes to negotiating things beyond your offer is going to be a stipend. Stipends are, now it depends on the company, and there should be equity around this as well, but depends on the role. It, like I said, the startups, new roles, new individuals, when it's a new company, sometimes these things aren't in place and they're not established. Things like reimbursements for phone, internet, sometimes like gym, home office. Sometimes those are things that you can negotiate. I will say, as companies are growing and more remote work happens, typically we want to see phone at least and internet be covered. Or if it's not your phone specifically, that they have some kind of way for you to use virtual calling. You want to see that when you're getting an offer, but if they're not included, and ask for clarity when you're receiving an offer so you know. That way you can make sure that that is in writing when you are negotiating if it's not on the table. Now, I think pre-pandemic, there was a lot of these things that maybe salespeople were getting, but other people weren't necessarily getting. Post-pandemic, because there was such a switch to go remote, companies just started looking at, we need to address this for everyone. And there are companies now that are 100% remote. So absolutely, typically the internet, phone are covered, but maybe home office is not covered because it's expected that people are used to working from home, should already have a standard workstation at home. But if it's not covered and that's something you're interested in, again, that's a stipend. Ask for, whatever cash amount of a stipend that would be for you to, go get a printer, whatever it is that you need for your home office to get that fully established. The next thing I have for you as another way to negotiate financially outside your offer, that is going to be transportation. Now, in the remote world, this is not needed as much, but if you are having to go into an office and maybe you live outside the city and you need commuter benefits to get into the city, there are ways that you can ask for transportation covered costs, maybe a travel reimbursement, commuter benefit type of thing. If you're in it like a sales position, typically those are going to be covered, shouldn't be a problem. Smaller company versus larger company, again, smaller company, maybe it's not fully established, especially in a startup world. Those are things that will probably be over time established. But if you're starting in a sales position as one of the first sales account manager type of employees for a small company, you have a lot of leverage for negotiating, just depending on what budgets look like. But you will be setting the expectation up for what the future could be in that organization. So you kind of have a little bit of flexibility to lean in a little bit. I would say as companies are getting larger, if they're a startup and moving into bigger companies, travel reimbursements when you're going to conferences and things like that, those absolutely should be covered, typically are covered, and shouldn't really be in question a problem at all. Okay, and the last piece I have here for financial ways to negotiate outside your offer. Sorry, I keep repeating that because I want you to know this is outside of the actual salary offer that you've been offered. I'm looking at specific key financial pieces. This will be moving expenses. If you are moving to be closer to the company and it's an on-site location and that's why you need to make a move, maybe the company had to do a wide search and they needed to expand beyond the area that the company was located in, but they need someone in the office present. Please negotiate moving expenses. Moving is super expensive these days. And so there's so much costs that go into moving, not just getting a place to live, but the actual moving itself. If you have to move furniture or move anything, all of that should be covered, especially if there is an expectation to be in the office. So that could be another financial benefit and something outside the offer to be negotiated. Okay, those were my 5 things to negotiate beyond the offer. I will, again, break this down and have an additional topic of other additional things to negotiate outside the offer in a different capacity. So stay tuned and I will have that ready coming up soon. We have a few episodes that we're going to be breaking this out in because there are lots of things to negotiate outside of the offer. And I just think not everyone knows about them. So let's pull back the curtain a little bit and learn a little bit more together. And I will have that coming up for you soon. Until the next time, don't forget to stay tuned to the podcast, the Dear Career Podcast on Instagram. You can look at the Advance Her page on LinkedIn. I share posts and updates there for career coaching as well as details about the podcast. So feel free to visit me there. And If you're not on the YouTube, follow me on the YouTube. Otherwise, where you're listening is great. I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know what was the most helpful for you. And if you used any of my tips to negotiate your offer when it comes to the financial piece, let me know. I want to hear about it. I hope this gave you some more insight, and happy negotiating. Excited for you to lean a little bit more in on your negotiating skills. All right, until next time, I'm Tiana, and I will talk to you later.